All right. Well, first and foremost, Aaron, thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you for having me, Maxance. We've spoken before. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you again too, and congratulations on another really fantastic season of Fallout. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, dude, thank you. I'm not bored yet. It's that weird thing. It's almost like as an actor, Maxence, you're like waiting for that like moment that we like sit down for like who knows, hope God willing, season 5 or 6. And I'm like, I hope I'm still interested in this thing by then.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if you were sort of able to expand on what you had established in your character in the first season, and perhaps have the opportunity to sort of add more layers to Maximus's journey as he meets new characters and reunites with old ones as well in season two.
Well, yes. I mean, gosh, darn it. I mean, this thing is it is based off of a video game. Um there is this element to Maximus that we've always had a conversation about. One of like not being an archetypal character, trying to, there's it's certainly like there's something that is going to feel, I guess, archetypal about Lucy or the ghoul in the way that they operate. It's almost like you can tell what film that they're in. I feel like with Maximus, it's so much of it is the retro futuristic elements of the Brotherhood of Steel that, we kind of wanted to take a different approach with it, and I've always liked what we've done, but it's like we've got this shared experience that's happening, I guess, between the audience and us, uh, especially now that we've let them in on the backstory that we sort of like half tell in the first season of what happened to Maximus, how he got into the Brotherhood of Steel, but it's sort of like we're with the shared journey, the shared experience is building the character in front of us. Like that will hopefully by the end of it, like see the perspective of like, oh, this has been going this direction all along, we got to see it happen, and hopefully and enjoy it in an enjoyable way. Yeah.
As we reunite with Maximus in the second episode of season two, was it important to sort of make the audience aware of, I guess, where he is now following Moldaver's death? He didn't kill her, but he got the credit anyways and was held was hailed as a knight, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think really important for us, to allow that. I mean, because I don't know, in some aspects I think when we've got Howard Cummings like fully building out every set, right? I mean, like I'm thinking of the Caswin, the big airships now, and the things that they were able to build for those scenes. I mean, it's important for us to, like, I mean, grow the scale of the show, that it'll sort of start at least digging to the depths that the games did. I mean, these games are massive in their undertaking, and the lore building of 30 years. They're massive. So we're still scratching the surface as to like all the elements of the world that exists there. So yeah, I think, yeah, it's good for us to start, I think, with that promotion and what that's done to change his life. I think we can kind of see that there's this dark cloud still over his head. It's like he's not exactly where he wants to be. And he's still trying to not figure out where he wants to be. I think he very clearly knows where he wants to be. I think it's figuring out whether this opportunity he's been given is like, is there something meant to be for him with it. I think we all can, at least I hope, relate to feeling like the world around us might be absolutely batshit crazy. And but like what how fortunate we are where we are, and how do we use that to maybe change the world around us, as opposed to season one. Maximus was maybe just trying to survive, trying to survive the roller coaster of it all.
In this season, I would say Maximus is confronted with a lot of difficult choices. And in the third episode, he's sort of immediately confronted with doing something that might have massive repercussions, which is killing Xander, knowing
Yeah,
that it may start a war. But he
yeah,
does it anyways because he doesn't
yeah.
want to see ghoul children get harmed. I'm wondering, like, was there something that you kind of wanted to convey in that particular moment, and I guess track Maximus' choices in this season because it says a lot. I think it says a lot about him, that choice, and then following that action as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of really, I mean, I love that these games always give the player those kinds of choices, you know, where you really are changing the map or even what you have access to, perhaps, you know, later in the game based off of the things that you choose. And I think it was just really important for us when we get into situations like that with Maximus is that we fully uh, we fully give time to everything. I mean, because even Kumail's journey with Maximus, you know, is very short-lived, but I had such a great time crafting that with Kumail because one, he's a filmmaker as well. I mean, he and I both are camera obsessed. You know, we're often playing like what focal length are we on games, you know, because we're both quite good at understanding what camera's doing and you know and how the thing is made. So you know, it was really important that that friendship of theirs felt like a real budgeting sort of thing, like a real thing that, oh, this like we could even hype a little bit. Like we could get like, oh, like maybe these guys are gonna go off together and like start kicking ass. And that's also, I mean, it's the nature of going back to weekly release, you know, is that like it allowed, I think, a little bit of all of us together to kind of feel like, unless you binged it, you know, but to feel a sense of, oh, maybe this could turn into something, and then you know, very quickly it turns the other way, especially because it's exactly how Maximus was brought to the Brotherhood of Steel in some ways, is being a kid, being an orphan, you know, and being found. So how could he not relate? Whether they're ghouls or not, how could he not relate at his core, you know, to what he's seeing in front of him, and he has to make that decision.
Well, that was actually a surprising moment for me because I try not to watch any trailers for movies or TV shows before I watch them. So I thought, I think it was at the end of the first episode this season on Fallout that we see Kumail. I'm like, oh, he's probably going to be a major character in this. And then by the end of the
Uh-huh.
third episode,
Uh-huh.
he's no longer a major character.
Oh
So that
my
was
God.
quite surprising for me.
And you know, I even thought like because you know, I have my like come to Jesus talk, as I like to call it, with Geneva, you know, and Graham before we start with Jonah, like before we start filming is, you know, and I even thought like, wait, is it really already? Like it's already happening now? But we just, but we, you know, even Kumail, it was kind of like, no, yeah, I'm done after this. I was like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, but it's good on you. I mean, I do think the trailers, I feel the same way. If I like something, I turn a trailer off. Like as soon as I get the like the bug of like, oh, I want to see this, I'm like, well, I don't need to see anymore.
I mean, it must have been fun to share the screen with Kumail, even for that brief episode. Because again,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that he was in it at all. I didn't even know much
Oh,
about
good.
the second
Good for
season.
you.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good for you. I mean, it's yeah, it's he's an incredible artist. Like I don't know if you heard, but he and his wife Emily are working on a new project with Amazon, and I'm really excited
Yeah,
for
yeah,
them.
yeah. It's a remake of a Quebec film, which I've heard of and I've actually seen.
Yeah. It's good, man. I mean, they're really, he's super talented. And honestly, it's just like, what is it? I mean, I feel the same way when I work with Walton. I feel the same way when I work with Ella, Kyle as well. You know, it's this feeling of, you know, a collaboration. You know, you've got a brilliant artist sharing their notes with you, and it's just such a great opportunity to take a scene further than even we all thought it could have gone from the page. You know, and then give them different options when they get into the editing room.
And how is it to shoot? Because this series is shot on film, which
Oh
is quite
yeah.
atypical for TV to be captured on film. But it gives, I mean, the look of
Mhm.
the show is just incredible. That's really, really, really something special.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know Max. I'm a theater kid. You know that like my whole career started off Broadway. That I feel still sort of like that's who I am in a lot of ways. And I mean, I do think that if it weren't for a lot of the work that Howard Cummings and his team do to build out every set, you know, I mean, this isn't Star Wars, but it's built like it's Star Wars. And that's, I mean, it's just incredible as an actor, I mean, it makes everything kind of work. A lot of times, if you can imagine some of the stuff you see on a page, you'll think like, I mean, I'm showing up to set still thinking, I don't know how the fuck we're gonna do this, you know? And then I show up, I walk onto a set that's been fully built out, and I think, oh, Howard and Dana Pink with the wardrobe, like they've made it easy. Okay. You know what I mean? They've made it so much easier. Well, we get to just knock the dominoes over now, in a lot of ways, and really play with the material because, again, yeah, for film, I feel like what people can be afraid of with television is I think the tempo at which you have to film things on television. You have a schedule. It's like you got to film this for us 8 hour movie, within a certain time frame, or else it's costing a lot of money. And I think the fear is that film will increase the cost and increase the time taken in that process. But I actually believe that it makes us all work a little bit more economically. If the film is rolling, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? It's there's no way around it, and that's really exciting for all of us, I think, as actors. Even as exciting, or I mean, I kind of get excited whenever I feel like I can like let out my whole hot air of steam whenever I hear a camera rolling out. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, there's nothing's happening now. It's different than digital where you push a button and you play. And I think there's a place for that in our world, and it really works well for television. But I really think that a lot more opportunity should be given to film in TV, specifically because I do think it makes everybody sort of on their toes, in how they operate, and that's across the board. That's not just the camera department and actors. It's how things are written, how things are changed on the day. It's we work very very efficiently and quickly because of it.
Actually, one of my favorite scenes in this season is in the fourth episode, where Maximus makes the again another difficult choice to let Quintus live, even though he believes he must kill him to prevent the war.
Yeah.
Because I guess he has a lot of very conflicted feelings on Quintus, because he's basically the father he never had, considering that he lost his parents when he was very young, and
Yeah.
contemplates whether or not he should pull the trigger. Because it makes to me the scene's really interesting because Quintus really sort of taps into Maximus' vulnerabilities in that moment. And I'm wondering, like, to you, like, how important was it to show that sort of range of emotions and that vulnerability and that sort of inner conflict that boils within him as he's, contemplating whether or not he should do it?
Well, yeah, I think that I mean, in some ways, we get a chance to look at the core of also why Max has always felt outside. There's something that I have to imagine, and this is that weird thing of like drama comes from just two perspectives, two differing perspectives on screen at the same time. That is what creates drama. If you are terrified of the death claw, I shouldn't be. That's what kind of creates the drama of a moment. And we we, um we spent a lot of time that day talking about the words of that scene, actually, and being really, really hyper focused on which operative words of like whether it's children or kids or like you know what I mean, how these things are said because it really is like the crux of why Maximus can't belong in the Brotherhood of Steel. It's also like, this moral compass that has always been inside of him that's kind of, kept him from being able to maximize. You know what I mean? As we see him doing in our series, you know what I mean? Like, it was really important for us to show what that struggle is internally, sort of on the outside of him, and give words to it from what our normal experience of Maximus is a nonverbal reaction to a lot of the things, and keeping things really close to themselves. And I know that because I've had conversations with some people that have found him to be unintelligent because of that, as a character. I've always thought the opposite. I've always thought it felt like being from a rural town where you go out to the big city and you just kind of listen. It's because you're actually highly intelligent that you're trying to listen and figure everybody else out, so you know whether you're safe or not, as opposed to overpowering everything with yourself. I mean, that seems like a good way to get killed in the wasteland, you know. Uh, but yeah, no, it was a really, I mean, I love working with Michael. You know, he's a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright. He's an incredible scene partner, and he's always going to read words in a way that he's trying to poke you. You know, I feel like as an actor, you want to have bruises on you when you do an emotional scene. It's not really about like shutting the other actor out to have an emotional scene. It's actually allowing them to poke you at your bruises. You know, and Michael, gosh, it's like he's always got like a sharp, pointy stick when he walks into a scene with you. He really knows how to use his operative words to dig into you and make you feel.
But even the moment right after where he tells Dane, I couldn't do it, I'm sorry. And Dane replies, you don't have to apologize for not killing someone. And like, I think that says a lot about who Maximus is as a character. And what I love the most about TV is that we really get to sort of meaningfully sit with characters that I guess movies don't really allow us to because we have a longer, I guess, longer runtime. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, no, but it is. It's I think the alternative, if you consider the alternative, it would have been a very different season for Maximus if he'd just been on a kill streak. Um, it would have come off differently, and I think we're trying to make it a little more complicated, you know, always.
the the second half, I guess, of Maximus's arc is this in this season is him going to Las Vegas with Thaddeus, and this
Hmm.
is also where he reunites with the Ghoul after he saved Lucy from him in the first season. Can you talk about, I guess, working with Walton, and did you learn anything from him that you still hold on to from that experience?
Oh man, I gotta say that like Walton and I have gotten to hang out a lot, and not work together very much, and uh, I was happy that he was shouting out loud on the day, finally, Aaron, fucking finally, because I felt the same way. I really had always been excited to, we had done work with the suit, with Walton and really not scene work where, it felt like it's everybody's set whenever, we're working with wires and stunts and the suits playing and I've got the motorized helmet and everything. It's just so much more to what we're doing and it's very technical work. So to get to really size each other up, I guess, the two characters. It felt like a really, really well-deserved moment. At least I felt like we both deserved it. And yeah, I've taken so much away from Walton. He's he's um he's very much an actor that will work from the truth of what's happening in the present moment. Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel like I'm always just trying to operate in a way where our editor has a lot of options whenever they get into the room in case the narrative has started to change or we see that something's working and something else isn't, in terms of how to put the thing together. And Walton works in the same sort of way, but slightly different than me, where he really is listening to everything that I say and the way that I say it. And so it excites me as an actor. I mean, you can imagine, Max, it's like you know that if you even start the scene slightly different, your end result is going to be entirely different, with Walton. And that's a really exciting thing. And he doesn't make a plan about it. He's really trying to just listen to you and what you've said to him in that moment. And it's a brilliant way to work. I think it's especially for a guy who didn't I'm a formal training guy. So like to see someone develop a craft like that without having to go to formal training, it's a really beautiful thing to see, and it kind of helps me. What do you call it? I'm thinking of what I've taken away from it. It helps me to understand that, like, that how unique my process is really is what he's helped me to understand, and I really appreciate him for that. But I'll get more opportunities. Oh man, I loved it.
What is the process like in shooting, I guess, action inside that? that suit because you do get a pretty significant set piece with with the death
Yeah.
claws in episode 7 and 8. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering like what this whole process is like.
Well, it's really, really challenging for a number of reasons. One, that suit has to be built, it has to be heavy because it has to be built out of material that can go through walls like we need it to. And we've taken it in bodies of water. We do so much with it. And so with the extreme heat that we often can be dealing with outside on set, uh, with the weight of it. It's really really challenging. The death claws are also they're puppeted by three people. You know they're out there suffering as well with us in their spandex suits. You know, it's I mean, there's so many elements. I don't know if you know. There's like we've got the statuesque version of that suit. We've got the full body stunt. You know, 7'2" version of the suit. We've got the top half with the motorized helmet, and then on top of all of that, we still, you know, we have to. I have to memorize everything that we've done throughout the entire season so that I can go in within 2 or 3 days at the very end to film all of the inside the helmet material. So we kind of have to like hyper focus on story in a way where we have an endpoint where it's like, well, Aaron's gonna have to do it the whole thing again later. So everything has to be quite sketched out. You know, we can't be like thinking about changing it too much later. And so, you know, we're hoping that we've laid enough track, I guess, for the whole thing to work. And you know, Allie, our editor, she's so brilliant, but to be able to put the whole thing together in the end. So that it looks seamless, you know, so that the eye lines are correct, you know, every little tiny detail. I mean, that Deathclaw scene, that was like a week of filming. That was really intense. Jeremy, our full armor stunt performer, passed out at one point because of the heat. I mean, this is the kind of like it's brutal work that we're doing to make this thing come together. And you know, you wouldn't get very far if it weren't for having personalities. You know, I hope myself is included that everyone feels that way, but it is. It's like I'll sacrifice myself for this thing to make this thing work and to be good. You know, I know my stunt guy Jeremy will too. I know that you know the Deathclaw operators from Legacy are really wanting the thing to work. So you know, we're really putting a lot of effort into uh, something that ends up being, gosh, what, maybe 28 minutes of runtime on your screen, you know, like it was massive, but those the weeks of our lives that we put into that.
I feel like this season was building up to that eventual reunion between Maximus and Lucy in the final episode.
Hmm.
Because the two stories are kind of paralleled. We get to see Lucy's individual story, then Maximus's story, and the two intersect at the end. There's a lot of emotional baggage that the two have lived through. And just before Lucy sees Maximus, his father decided to wipe all of his memories.
Yeah.
So that is really, really powerful. Really, really, really emotional moments at the end, considering, everything that both characters went through. I'm wondering, like, how did yourself and Ella wanted to approach that particular reunion and obviously laying the groundwork for the third season?
Well, what can I remember? Max is like, you know, there was something really relieving about that day being on set together. Uh, I mean, we spent so much time working together in our first season that you know, we really have a friendship. You know, I really enjoy working with Ella, and I enjoy seeing her outside of work. You know, I really, and it's rare. I really do think to feel that way about a person and that you work with. I think we should treat it as rare rather, and not just assume that everybody is your best friend. It's rare, and it did feel relieving. I don't think we were even scripted to hug. I think they imagined uh, the shot dying with them approaching each other and then entering into the penthouse of Robert House, you know. I think that's how it was always originally imagined, but I think there was something between Ella and I that we knew that the characters had been through so much that we needed some type of embrace, some type of hug, some type of sense of like, oh, thank God, like it's a life raft. Like, you know what I mean? You got to grab onto it and hop in and then take that sigh of relief, you know, before you continue the adventure.
And now that you have played this character for two seasons now, I'm wondering if there is something that you take away from your experience in being on this. I think being on a series that, you know, pushes the medium of television forward in very exciting new ways.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, even us having this conversation, Maxance, it's, you know, sort of along the lines of like, you know, like, celebrating. I feel like even what we're doing now, talking about it, feels like celebrating a year of television making. And I think I don't know. I mean, I take a lot of sense of pride out of it. I feel like out of most of my colleagues' work, you know what I mean? It's mostly the things that I've seen people create and do. It really has blown my mind. And it makes me, I think, a better collaborator whenever I have gone on to other projects, you know, in the interim. You know, I love indie film. It's even maybe more exciting for me to over obsess over one script as opposed to, you know, 8 or 16 that we've had of Fallout at this point. You know, it can be really challenging. So I think when I have one script, it's helping me become a better collaborator because I know who to call better about certain situations. You know, it's like, you know, let me make sure that you know, the costume designer knows that I'm thinking about these sorts of things. So I don't want them to, you know, spoon feed the character with some type of wardrobe that says he's an artist, or you know what I mean. You know, let me talk to locations so I can see if I can get some Google images of what this place looks like. You know, it's helping me become a better collaborator in my other work, this show, because I know how talented designers and a lot of the creatives that are in our industry working are. You know, they're really remarkable, and it's best with the marriage of all of us, you know, having conversations that, you know, these things can really work out. You know, my day on Fallout is it really is it's filled with texts and communications about what's happening, what set looks like, where we are, you know, in the storyline, and what we want to like leave open-ended, and like, you know, like here's a moment to really milk for choice, you know, with Maximus, and let people not know what's happening, and 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 it's all a really it's a dream job, you know, really, to feel so supported, and to support them hopefully as well.
Awesome. Well, it was really great talking to you today, Aaron, about your work in the second season of Fallout. Like I said, the season is just absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait. I know it is coming back for a third season. I did read a couple of information on that last week, so I do know that it is coming, and I cannot wait to see it.
Okay, cool. I went in the other day. It looks good. It looks really
Awesome,
good.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm going to wish you all the best on the third season, and I wish you have a very good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.